My favourite source for royal news, and quite right, not that we're biased. Harry said in his BBC interview that he was forced to step away from royal duty due to security concerns. I thought Harry and Meghan had decided to leave.
Picture this. Prince Harry steps off a British Airways flight, shoulders tight, eyes weary, duffel bag slung low like the weight of the world is inside it. No red carpet, no reporters, no palace escort. Just London's cold gray sky and a man about to walk into political hell. He hadn't even finished sipping his overpriced soy latte from Heathrow when everything exploded. While he was touching down, Parliament was heating up. And baby, this wasn't just some side chamber chat. This was full-on royal warfare. By the time Harry made it through customs, members of Parliament were already sliding into their seats, stiff-lipped and battle-ready. The agenda? Oh, just a little thing called, should Prince Harry still be Duke of Sussex? The room was practically hissing with anticipation. Now, don't roll your eyes. This wasn't just some fringe anti-monarchy drama. The motion had serious fuel behind it. Conservative MP Bob Seeley, you remember, the one who shaded Harry last year as a wannabe celebrity activist, was pushing it forward. And shocker, Labour didn't block it. Even some of the usually neutral MPs nodded along. Translation? Harry's title wasn't just royal flair anymore. It was political currency. Meanwhile, back at the palaces, aides were reportedly in a frenzy. Phones were buzzing nonstop, but William's team, radio freaking silent. Not a peep, not a whisper, just the standard royal stonewall. We do not comment on parliamentary matters. Oof, that's monarchy code for good luck, bro. You're on your own. And Meghan? Oh, honey, she was thousands of miles away in California, apparently mid-prep for a Netflix summit. But when the headlines hit, sources say she was furious, not just at the Parliament move, but at the timing. To Meghan, this wasn't just a swipe at her husband, it was an all-out strike on the Sussex brand. And if there's one thing Meghan doesn't play about, it's her brand. By early evening, the news was plastered everywhere. The Daily Mail, the New York Post, CNN, everyone was screaming the same thing. Harry's title in jeopardy. Words like crisis, stripped, and nuclear were being thrown around like confetti. And that's when Harry lost it.
Catherine, who it sort of embodied that sort of the reaction between them, you know, that a mother's great at getting that really natural, relaxed response from her daughter.
Multiple witnesses say Harry stormed out of a private meeting near Clarence's house, phone in hand, visibly yelling, and the quote that broke the internet? Allegedly, they wouldn't dare, not after everything I've done for them. Woo. That sentence, that wasn't frustration. That was heartbreak. That was a man who still believed in the value of what he gave. He had left the firm, exposed its secrets, taken on the monarchy in interviews, books, and streaming docs, all in the name of truth, healing, justice. And now the same establishment he once defended was about to yank his name off the royal roll call. Social media erupted. Twitter, or X, whatever, turned into a digital battleground. Some were cheering, saying he deserved to be stripped. Others were clutching pearls, horrified that truth-telling now came with royal consequences. But the palace? Not a single tweet, not even a vague statement. The silence was like a slap.
Planning to strip Harry and Meghan of their royal titles when he ascends to the throne.
And that silence spoke louder than words. Because if the royals wanted to shut this down, they could have. Charles could have said something. William could have hinted at support. But nothing. Just chilling, calculated quiet. And let's talk history this. This was wild territory. Never before had Parliament seriously tried to vote away a peerage from a modern royal. Not even Prince Andrew, and you know what he's been accused of. If they went through with this, the floodgates would open. Titles would no longer be sacred, they'd be political playthings. And Harry, he knew what was happening. That's why, according to insiders, he already had lawyers on speed dial. Legal teams in the UK, advisors in California, Meghan's reps, PR strategists. The whole Sussex media machine was firing up because for them, this wasn't just about a title. It was about power, image, survival. Let's be real. That Duke of Sussex line on the CV is what opens doors. Netflix, Spotify, $100 0-cent speaking gigs. None of it hits the same. If he's just Harry Windsor, the brand is royalty adjacent. Strip the title and you strip the justification. Meanwhile, Charles stayed cool. William stayed polished. Kate, supposedly neutral, but those Middleton insiders, whispering just enough to shape the optics. And Meghan and Harry, isolated, like two players on a chessboard surrounded by rooks. So, what now? Was Harry about to drop a public statement? Would Meghan clap back with one of her infamous open letters? Would Parliament actually vote him out of the family, title and all? Montecito was a war zone. Meghan was pacing like a general with a shattered game plan. While Harry fumed in London, she was locked in Zoom calls with her PR army, Netflix partners, and her agents at WME. And her first words, allegedly, "This is an orchestrated takedown. Someone inside the palace wants us erased." Sounds dramatic? Maybe. But Meghan's been in this game long enough to recognize a coordinated hit. You don't just wake up one morning and Parliament suddenly decides to strip your title, not unless the Crown gave a wink. And this was extra painful because Meghan had a whole comeback brewing, a new cooking show, a memoir, a wellness brand. The Markle Renaissance was mid-bloom, but now all of it was under threat. Because who's buying a rebrand from a duchess who's no longer a duchess? Even Netflix was sweating. Execs started asking behind closed doors, do we still have a duchess or just a celebrity with an expensive microphone? They'd dumped millions into the Sussex brand, and if that brand lost its crown, and Meghan, she had just signed off on a new promo tagline, from palace to pantry, a duchess reimagined. Oh, time for a rewrite. That's why her legal team didn't waste a second. They had a contingency statement locked and loaded. It's still unreleased, but sources say it's fire. Phrases like constitutional overreach, public harassment, and wait for it, systemic retaliation against whistleblowers. Yeah. She's framing this not as royal drama, but as a human rights violation. Meghan doesn't just want sympathy, she wants outrage. Meanwhile, back in the UK, Harry was digging in his heels.
What you said, Jack.
Yeah, I agree.
So we are in total agreement. They are very dependent on each other.
At 10 a.m. the next day, the Paps caught him leaving a solicitor's office in London. Precedents, lawsuits, countersuits, he was ready to go to war, and then boom, the veterans got involved. Remember Harry's years in Afghanistan, his work with veterans, his time as Captain General of the Royal Marines? That community wasn't quiet. Some officers stood with him, others not so much. One Marine told the Telegraph, if they strip his title, what does that say about service? But a colonel clapped back on Sky News, you don't serve your country by airing family laundry on television. One sentence. But oh, it hit hard. Titles currently under review by Parliamentary motion, June 2025. No statement, no denial, just a tiny update in tiny text. But that little footnote, that was the monarchy's version of saying, don't blame us, this one's on Parliament. Brutal. By noon, Parliament was in session. The chamber buzzed like it was hosting the royal version of Gladiator. These rose one by one, some calling Harry a disgrace, others calling the whole motion a dangerous overstep. One Yorkshire MP got particularly spicy. If we're going to start stripping titles, when do we go after lords who cheat on taxes and embarrass us in tabloids? Ouch. Then came the vote. Everyone held their breath. The numbers rolled in. The cameras snapped. It was tense. And then, shock of all shocks, it failed by just 14 votes. 14. That slim little margin saved Harry's title. Technically, he was still the Duke of Sussex. But here's the thing, nobody celebrated, not even Harry, because it didn't feel like a win. It felt like a warning. Like, you get to keep it for now. Half the UK government had just tried to erase him. The palace stood silently by. The press shredded him like paper. And the royals, not one of them stepped up. Not Charles, not William, not even Queen Camilla, who once said she thought Harry had a good heart. Later that night, Harry reportedly called Meghan, and his voice, hollow. They didn't strip it, he told her, but they made it worthless. And just like that, everything shifted. Harry finally saw it for what it was, not just a political attack, but emotional exile. The monarchy hadn't fought for him. They hadn't protected him. They hadn't even pretended to care. And Meghan, she wasn't shocked. She'd been warning him this would happen. But what did surprise her was how badly her own PR campaign bombed. The mini-doc, lukewarm. The headlines, brutal. Netflix, service. Insiders say her agency, WME, started walking back their bold rollout plans. A top agent reportedly told Deadline, there's sympathy, but there's also fatigue. The story's stuck, and if your brand is built on sympathy, fatigue is fatal. By the end of the week, the Sussexes were back in California, tired, bruised, a little broken, and privately, rethinking everything. Sources close to the couple say Harry's now toying with a full-on retreat from public life. No more books, no more interviews, just a quiet life in Montecito, raising chickens, surfing, maybe volunteering at a veterans nonprofit. But Meghan? Oh, she's not done. If she can't be Duchess of Sussex, she'll be something else. A new title, a new role. CEO. And her empire? Not tiaras and ballrooms. It'll be boardrooms and billionaires. She's calling it civility. Yeah, you heard that right. Her next big move is a lifestyle brand / media company / advocacy platform hybrid. Think Goop meets TED Talks meets Vogue. And the tagline, where grace meets power, it's less royal, more renegade. And Meghan's allegedly already in talks with 2 major investors, one with ties to Gwyneth Paltrow's empire, the other with Ari Emanuel's Hollywood machine. She's aiming to take over the conversation around modern womanhood without ever mentioning a palace again. According to a friend of the couple, the royals didn't exile her, they activated her. But Harry? He's fading fast. Insiders say he barely talks to his father anymore. William's office sent a frosty statement after the vote. The Prince of Wales remains focused on his duties and will not comment on parliamentary motions. Translation, you're not our problem anymore. No Balmoral invite, no Sandringham olive branch, not even a leaked message from a palace aide. It was clear the firm had made its choice. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. And it gets darker. Rumors are swirling about a soft disownment policy behind palace door. Courtiers have allegedly drafted engagement avoidance memos. No events, no collabs, no coordinated PR with the Sussexes ever again. Worse still, there's talk of quietly revoking Archie and Lilibet's honorary HRH mentions in palace materials. Not legally, but symbolically. No invitations, no mentions, just vanishing, like they never existed in royal bloodlines. And Meghan's team, they're watching everything. She's reportedly brought on a digital strategist who once worked with the Obamas. Their mission? Roll out civility as the anti-place brand. Chic, clean, powerful, and just edgy enough to make the Windsors squirm. Word is, she's already hosted secret dinners with Oprah, Ellen, Kerry Washington, all encouraging her to lean in hard. If the palace won't crown her, Hollywood might. But the claws are coming out. Critics are already roasting civility. Piers Morgan called it a Pinterest board with delusions of grandeur. A British MP tweeted she couldn't make archetypes work and now she's rebranding herself as Grace Incarnate. And the Daily Mail? They said her new logo looked like a tampon brand. Savage. Still, Meghan, cool as ever, or at least pretending to be. And Harry, he's practically disappeared. No appearances, no press leaks, just quiet days surfing, journaling, and doing school drop-off for Archie. Insiders say he's considering spiritual retreat in Utah or escaping to Botswana, his forever safe space. Because if there's one title he wants now, it's anonymity. And the kicker, Netflix. Yes, the one that gave them millions is quietly panicking. Execs met recently to review the Sussex deal. One insider reportedly said, the fairy tale's gone flat, time for something or someone new. Translation, if Meghan's next move doesn't slap, she might lose Hollywood too. And if that happens, we'll be looking at a duchess without a duchy, a prince without a crown, and a monarchy that finally closed the gates for good. But here's the real tea, the one everyone's too scared to say out loud. Harry and Meghan may be bruised, battered, and branded as royal castaways, but they're not done, not even close. They've been exiled, mocked, abandoned, but they're still standing, and now they're wild cards. Uncontrolled, unroyal, untouchable, and the one thing no one can ever strip from them, freedom. So, what do you think?